Thank you for asking me to do this. This is very nice.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful to have you guys support. Now, I was been talking with a few of our longtime partners. I mean, I think you guys were pretty much right at the beginning of coming on board when the dean at the time, Richard Meadows, said, "Well, get somebody who's crazy enough to join you and support you in this," and then they set benchmarks for us to go and keep seeing. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you right off the bat was, what caused you to give innovative weather a chance? Something that hadn't existed. It's kids making forecasts to help you make decisions. What what made you give us a chance?
Before I answer that, so he said find someone crazy enough, and he thought about us immediately, right? Thanks.
Well, I knew you could take our crap, so
Okay, but I'm pumped. Good one. Yeah. Well, as you know, we operate the regional wastewater system here. So we have the deep tunnel and the two water reclamation facilities. And it's really a math problem. It's trying to manage the flow going through those two plants, manage the storage in the deep tunnel, so that nothing overfills, and then trying to capture as much water as possible. And the unknown in that whole thing is the weather. How's the rainfall going to hit? Where is it going to hit? How hard does it hit? So we can manage the downstream end of that pretty well. But if we have no input on the upstream end of that, it's very tough. So I do remember, I don't know if it was Paul Robar or Pat came to me and said, we're using these weather predictions now that are more national. And here's this innovative, cool thing that the university is doing that could really drive that prediction down to a Milwaukee region level, and which is exactly what we need and needed. So it was great. And Mike, I remember a couple times during a storm calling you, and our hairs we're pulling it out. It's in our hands everywhere. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. And I remember a couple storms where you helped us avert an overflow because you said, I think this thing's going to veer to the south. I think it's going to miss you. And so we managed the system to basically on your prediction. And in those cases, I remember averting an overflow because of that. So I do want to thank you and Innovative Weather for all that help. But, it was an easy leap. University has a great reputation. Being able to help students at the same time uh, learn their trade in weather forecasting and helping, or future climatologists, whatever term you
Mhm.
want to use, but being able to assist with that educational piece, but also provide a valuable resource to the district. It was a no-brainer. It was a win-win for everyone.
Um, when you think about, I know for me, working closely with you guys and getting to know like how you have to think about, again, saving space, and like even the legal pieces, like what overflows are absolutely off limits, what ones are permissible within a degree of legal permit, and even the media piece of things. I remember early on when we started, the media was a bit more challenging to you. I remember talking to some of the guys in Chicago, and the difference between at that time having media that at least try to help people, the public, understand the what was really happening here, instead of the just, oh, you just did this. And so we got a huge lesson in what this meant, and then for us to be able to pass that down and start training these students. I mean, it was just invaluable to have that kind of real world impact. So what was the impact, as you think about these students making the forecast? What was their impact for you guys overall, would you say, on a event basis in particular?
Well, I mean, they provided minute-to-minute updates on the forecast, and it allowed us to really maneuver whatever tools we had, depending on where the storm was and how big the rainfall event was, help us reduce the amount of pollution getting into our rivers and Lake Michigan, which is our drinking water supply. So critically important for everything that we do to have that that reassurance, or at least that pretty solid estimate of what we think the weather is going to hit in the next, 6 or 12 hours. And, it may be raining really hard right now, but for us, it's really the 6 hour time period, the 12-hour time period that we really have to look at, because, as I said, we have a defined volume of water and a defined amount that we can treat. It's really just trying to capture as much as we can, hold open enough space in the tunnel for those future rainfalls that are coming to hit some of those regulatory requirements that you talked about, Mike. So it's a I hate to say it, but sometimes it's like a video game. You're just kind of playing all these little pieces, and phenomenal staff helping us do it here at the district. Pat Obenoff's just been amazing. John Jankowski before him was amazing with this. And that whole media piece that you talked about, when I became executive director in 2002, yes, it's been that long.
Wow.
Yeah. When I became executive director in 2002, we didn't really use a weather forecast. We, at that time, the tunnel had 405 million gallons of volume storage available. And so we set an arbitrary 200 million gallons. So whenever the tunnel got half full, we would have an overflow, and then we'd save that open space for future flows that were coming at us. That was one of the reasons that the media just went nuts on us, because, we'd have an overflow. We'd get the tunnel to 200, we'd have an overflow, and then at 220, the rain would stop.
Yeah.
Oh. So there, everyone's like, oh, so we spent $2 billion and you're only using half the tunnel. So in 2002, when I became executive director, I decided we're not going to do the 200 million gallon set point anymore. We're going to actively manage the tunnel volume. And so that's when I became more involved with it. John Jankowski at the time became more involved with it. And then Pat picked that up when Pat started doing this. And it was that transition to that real-time management of the system that then said, oh, now we need a better forecast, right? We need to know what's going to happen. And that's where you came in and provided that excellent input to the modeling, or to the system. And, we couldn't have done it without that. But that helped turn, there's a lot of other things that went on, but that was one of the things that helped turn the media, where they could see that, we're up all night, we're doing, in fact, I think, Mike, we called you many times at 2 or 3 in the morning. You're like, yeah, what are you doing?
Right.
You're always awake watching it, so you knew it.
Right.
But it was one of those things where the public had to see that we were trying. They had to see that we were doing everything we could to try to stop these events. And that the whole partnership with Innovative Weather was a key piece to that.
Last question. I don't know if you have any favorite stories or a memory, something, a moment with Innovative Weather. Did you have anything that jumps to mind?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, the one that I do remember was the tunnel. We had probably 521 million gallons of storage at the time. The tunnel probably had 400 something in it, and probably 350. And we were starting to look about what we were going to do. Were we going to have an overflow or not? And I think we called you at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And you said, well, I think this storm's going to go south and it's going to avoid the region. So we held tight and avoided the overflow. Now, that's really the technical side of it. But just having that soothing voice on the other side of the phone that said, hey, you might survive this one, that helped a lot. And, just all the students over the years, we get the emails and getting to see their names. And then, I spoke at a couple of classes at this university that, and for me, it was important because I could put the face to the name, to the work. And that meant a lot to me. So I don't have a favorite funny story. I don't have too many funny stories in my job, but I do have very solid, good memories of the strong relationship that we built. And when did you start this? I don't even know, 2012?
Oh, it was 2007.
So, okay.
So I came on, we spun it up, began operations in May. I think We Energies was first on board, but then I think by the middle of the summer, you guys were there, and we are trying to figure out how we work together. And then, of course, over the years, just kept refining it, making it a little bit better until we got to what it is today.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I learned late last year that, this was not going to be moving forward, it sent a shockwave through the district, especially with Pat and me, to really try to figure out how we're going to do this in the future. And so we've got some lifelines built out to try to help us do that. But really, everyone who's been part of the program for the university should be very proud of what you've done for, at least for MMSD. I'm sure for the other companies as well, but it's been a lifesaver for us.
That's all I got for you today.
Okay. Well, you won't get any more 4 o'clock phone calls from me, I don't think. So enjoy life. And, if I can ever help with anything, let me know.
I think one of the things that might come up, and I was talking with Ryan Griebel over at Lake Express about this today too. And we have a group of students who, some of them, we rushed them through the program. Alex was able to get them just a couple of operational weeks. But I think working with the faculty, so Paul's going to still be there for another year, and maybe trying to figure out a way to have you guys come in and talk a little bit about that idea of weather risk and how we work together. And, even though they can't have the real world experience, having somebody of your stature and our combined experience, along with Paul being in there, just to give the kids a glimpse. I think that that's something that Paul would probably really gravitate towards, and I think that could be a real help.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, if I was a student, going through this, it would be important to me to know that what I'm doing has meaning, that it's making a change. So I think I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, good. I will add you to that list. Thank you very much for that.
Sure.